So apparently, this movie, Lonesome Soldier, is a re-release from a movie that came out in 2023, November 3rd. I had to look up numbers. There's no financial data, so I can't tell you how much it made last year. I'm sorry. Chase Lehocky here with the Blue Futon reviewing Lonesome Soldier. So what is this about? Pretty simple premise. We're in like 2005 Tennessee, right? And there's a guy who's really hoping his country career goes up and up, but no promoters coming from Nashville. And his dad, or I think his grandpa, said, you know what? Join the army. He does National Guard. He is deployed, even though he's thinking, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Get some steady income. Weekend warrior. He comes back PTSD, and his life goes downhill with drugs, with his wife, with his child, with his mother, with his grandmother, with what happened in Iraq. He is just not PTSD full blown is going off in his brain. So, did I like this movie? It's going to be a weird movie to say that you like because it deals with the heavy-handed subject of PTSD and how people deal with it. Do they deal with alcohol, with drugs, with suicide? And that is how Chris Kyle died from in American Sniper. PTSD, a other soldier basically killed him and killed himself. So, suicide. This movie digs deep into all of it of what do you see in Iraq? Even though it is not graphic, there is some killing in this movie. This is mostly rated R for language and drug use. The violence is very bare minimum, and they keep it to a bare minimum for a reason because it's really not necessary. And of course, this is a lower-esque budget movie. So when talking about the positives, I do think the acting is well off overall. There is some little bit of like chuckle moments when it comes to basic training. I'll talk about that. That's the negative part of the movie. But I think overall that is not bad. The score, it's simplistic score. The overall surrounding environment of Tennessee does feel like you are in Tennessee. So I did enjoy that. I also enjoyed the different characters involved, like the mother, what she's going through, the wife, the child, even though the child's kind of a bare minimum one, but the people that died over in Iraq and him trying to connect with family members, the old drill sergeant, and everything like that. So you do get a good, vast variety of characters as well as his old friends as well that are pretty racist in backwoods Tennessee, of saying some stuff where it was some shocking dialogue where I was not expecting. It came out of left field, but I think it being shocking and coming out of left field was very potent, and it actually worked for the script to be like, oh shit, like it was an oh shit moment for what one person said. So you get that, and also you just get also these side characters of like his girlfriend for 2 years, and like I said, these racist brothers. Well, one of them was racist, the other one really isn't, but you do get some side story with that. And I do think it's effective when it comes to the drug and alcohol abuse and the suicide abuse, because yes, I do feel like the drug and alcohol one is told more poignantly because it talks about coma, people getting beat up, because there is one scene where it's pretty graphic with a baseball bat. But the suicide one, I think they showed it, but they kind of brushed it off, and I thought that was a little bit interesting because he was going to commit suicide, and his old drill sergeant comes and saves him. But it's like, it was like, I hate to say it, it was more of like, he brushed it off like, oh, I didn't just catch you try to commit suicide. You're good to go. So it was just like, that one was a little bit funny. And then, funny is the wrong word, but you know what I mean when it comes to the directorial aspect of it. And I love it how people, like how basic training is perceived. Okay, when you go to a basic training, you're going to go to a place with hundreds of people. It ain't just like 15 people. It's hundreds of people. Every week, it's filtering in, out. Every week of the week, there is a new trainee coming in with their flight, platoon, whatever you want to call it. And that same week, someone's graduating. It is a cog in the machine of how many people go through this. So when I see a bus full of like 15 people going to these Connex buildings in the middle of a parking lot, I just have to laugh at it. There's also another scene where they basically just strip naked. You're going to get stripped naked during your medical exams. This is before you actually sign the paperwork. during MEPS. That is when you're going to do the duck walk and things like that to actually see if you can go to basic training. And of course, basic training, there might be a lot of running, but your first day there is actually a lot of paperwork of turning your paperwork in to make sure you should be there and things like that. So yes, the basic training part of this movie, I would say it's laughable, but it gave me a couple chuckles where, yes, the dialogue between the drill sergeant is kind of real, but the actual scenarios that some of them are going through, like digging a 6-foot hole for a cigarette, or like I said, getting butt naked, or just things like that, they were laughable. And like I said, just the number of people in a flight is going to be more than freaking 10, and it's in a real building. I don't know where the Army is, but I know Air Force, you're going to go to JBSA, Lackland. I want to say Marines, there's 2 Marines, one's either like in California and one in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, or is it South Carolina? You know what I'm saying, but Army, don't know. One of the forts. Anyway, Lonesome Soldier, it is a heavy-handed movie with heavy-handed topics about PTSD, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide, and family. I think it does its job well, and it's supposed to. Like I said, some negatives, just some laughable drill sergeant basic training scenes, as well as the suicide thing. I was like, we're just going to brush it off like that. Really? So Lonesome Soldier will receive a 4 out of 5 with Futons, which equals at 80%. I am curious if there is anything for the critics and user scores for this one, but I promise you there's going to be no critic consensus. So it looks like we have one critic, and it's giving it a positive 8 out of 10. And then audience, a 97% with plus 50, no critic consensus. And I'll say one thing, they did pretty good with his hair. That's all I'll say with his hair for the timeline. So 97, 80. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know things Futontopia. You Blue Futonians, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Watch us take tomorrow, week from month, and a year from every single freaking one of you. And yeah, that Afghanistan withdrawal in 2021 was horrendous. And I only could pray these next 4 years. Let's do no wars. Let's just get rid of these wars. No need for these wars.